I'm a defense attorney, and I've been in the game long enough to know when something smells fishy. But what happened last week still has me shook. I was representing a client, let's call him John, who had been arrested for assaulting a police officer. The case seemed cut and dry on the surface. John was involved in an altercation at a bar, and the cop who responded to the scene claimed John threw a punch when asked to calm down. The officer's statement was rock solid, and the witnesses were either too drunk or too scared to be of much help. However, there was one detail that didn't sit right with me. The arresting officer, Officer Daniels, had a reputation. He'd been involved in a few other questionable incidents over the years, but nothing had ever stuck. I had a gut feeling this was just another case of police overreach, so I decided to dig deeper. The trial day came, and Officer Daniels took the stand. His testimony was as smooth as butter. He claimed John was belligerent and aggressive from the moment he arrived, that John had swung at him, and that he was forced to use necessary force to make the arrest. He even went so far as to detail how he feared for his life. The jury was eating it up, and I could see my client's chances slipping away. Now, I knew from my investigation that the incident had been captured on the bar's security cameras. The footage, which the prosecution had conveniently forgotten to turn over until the day before the trial, was the key. It showed a completely different picture. In the video, Officer Daniels was the one who threw the first punch, not John. John was simply trying to protect himself. I called the bar manager as my next witness. She stepped up to the stand, and after a few basic questions about the security system, I asked, "And can you confirm that the footage we are about to see was from your cameras?" She smiled, and shook her head, and then dropped a bombshell. "Actually, that footage isn't from our cameras. It was from Officer Daniels' body cam. We don't even have surveillance footage from that night. The body cam footage was just forwarded to me." After a few my jaw hit the floor. The officer had inadvertently sent the video to the bar manager, thinking it was the security footage. The officer had literally provided the evidence of his own misconduct. I had no choice but to bring the footage into play. But, of course, Officer Daniels was confident. When I asked to see the video, the prosecution objected, claiming it was inadmissible because it was late in being presented. I argued it was crucial for fairness and that the prosecution had failed to disclose it earlier. The judge agreed to allow it under a limited scope, and we watched it play out in front of the courtroom. As expected, the footage showed Daniels attacking first, not the other way around. The room went silent. I asked Officer Daniels, "So, you're telling this court you didn't strike my client first? Because the video clearly shows otherwise." He hesitated. He stammered. Then, with a straight face, he tried to claim the video had been edited and manipulated by someone who was clearly out to discredit him. The jury wasn't buying it. The jury didn't need much more convincing after that. Officer Daniels was immediately placed on administrative leave, and my client was acquitted. It was one of those rare moments where everything fell into place just right. I still can't get over how brazen the cop was, thinking he could get away with lying under oath, especially when his own actions were his undoing.